Buongiorno, buonasera.
Quasi sera. Very buonasera. How
Che
are
ora
you?
è da te? Che ora è da te? How are you, James?
Good. Very
You
good.
look terrific.
I
Younger.
feel pretty good. So, Pio, great to see you. And I'm excited to talk to you about the 2017 vintage in the Langhe and what you think about your Barolos and Barbarescos. What do you think about the vintage in general?
I think that the vintage in general in Barolo, basically Barolo and Barbaresco both, but mainly in Barolo, was a vintage that we should consider like one of the most unique of the last, I would say, 10, 12 years. It has been extremely hot during the summer, but thank God the Nebbiolo is a kind of vine that has roots which are able to go very deep into the soil. And when you have the marne, how do you say marna? When you have the clay, as we do in Serralunga or in Monforte, there's always some moisture, always some humidity deep down in the clay, and the character of the roots being able to go deep, they were able to get some moisture and some water and some freshness, so they did not suffer as other grapes in other regions where soils have a little bit more sand and are more superficial. When you have a superficial soil with the kind of heat that we had, the vegetation in August risked to stop. And this is what happened in some other regions of Italy and with some other variety. With us, it was a perfection. I'm going to add something else. That towards the end of August, we had quite a few rainstorms, quite big one as well. And that has helped in two ways. First, the temperature have dropped a little bit. And second, the extreme drought that we had in August disappeared, and there was some more humidity. That kind of weather change had caused nights being cooler than in a given hot vintage. Days were warm but not over humid, and that was a crucial point for us to be happy and to enjoy another great vintage.
Because
go ahead.
So I've tasted, we've tasted probably almost 300 Barolos and Barbarescos from the vintage in the last 3 weeks. And what's impressing about the wines is, yes, there's plenty of fruit, but they're very tannic and have very good structure, and they're very fresh. And when you thought about the growing season, you were thinking it might be like 2003, but it's nothing like that. It's a really classic vintage, even more classic and powerful than 16 or 15 in terms of the tannins, no?
I totally agree with you. I was applauding because I heard some of your colleagues saying, forget about 2017 in Piemonte. It's the usual bullshit. When some region in Italy don't have the kind of high class, the people tend to say Italy was bad in that bit, which is not the case in 2017 for Barolo. I guess that little weather changes that we had at the end of August, beginning of September, were the one responsible to have wines with tannins, with freshness, with still fruit, and wines that are not cooked.
No, not at all. Not even
It
close.
was not like 2003. It was not like
nothing
other
like
hot
it.
vintages. I'm extremely confident personally that 2017 will catch the attention of the wine lovers, because it's not a difficult vintage to enjoy. I wouldn't say it's ready. As you say, there are tannins in there, but the tannins are ripened. There is fruit, there is complexity, and there is a certain aging potential that in the hot vintages you normally don't have.
I totally agree.
We are extremely pleased. I would say that we have been doing a lot of comparative tasting, 17 versus 16 or versus 15 recently, because we are starting to release the 2017 internally, and we are extremely pleased. I don't know if 17 sometimes could be even better than 16 in some cases.
I agree. In fact, some producers are better, but I totally agree with you that that it's certainly on the same level as 15, 16. So, but it's only different in character in the, what I would say, stronger tannins.
Yes, I think it's closer to 15 than 16, because 15 was a little bit tighter, a little bit acid, a little bit tannic in structure. The 17 more or less is the same thing.
But it's a really exciting years and a big surprise, because I'm sure a lot of people haven't tasted them. So like you said, they just assumed that it was a hot and dry year. So Nebbiolo couldn't be so outstanding, but they're wrong. I guess they haven't tasted the wines we have, and we're very bullish about the vintage. We think it's another excellent year. And honestly, we're totally surprised. It was like, whoa, hold on. Like, they said it was really good. I didn't think it was possible. And they're excellent. And not just you, everyone we've tasted. I thought that your Barbarescos were, again, at the same level as your Barolos. I have the 17 Barbaresco. And again, what's interesting is the wine has plenty of, besides fruit, but lots of like tar and hazelnut and dried flowers, which again, very complex. No sense of really, a hot growing season. It must have been this August.
We have been very conscious in the last 10 years about our vineyards, about the vineyard management, about how we manage our vineyards. We have an agronomist that is with us since 19 years, and he is doing a super job in the vineyards. It's really doing something special. When Dubourdieu was still alive, and you remember that Dubourdieu was a guy of the vineyards as well as a guy of the cellar. And Denis was extremely happy when he was walking our vineyards in Barolo and in Barbaresco, because he was complimenting our agronomist on how well he was managing the mother nature in the vineyards. We are not organic, but we are organic, because the way we the way we grow our grapes in our vineyards, it's almost like being organic. I don't want to have any certification of going through any of those bullshits, but most of the job, most of the work which has been done at Pio Cesare in the last 5, 6, 7 years was done in the vineyard. And in the cellar, we have reduced a lot the use of oak. We have reduced a lot the use of French oak. We have reduced a lot the use of barrique. We have reduced a lot the use of burning and toasting too much barrels. We are using bigger cask. We are taking the wine out of the wood much sooner than in previous years. And that's why we have a lot of fruit, a lot of red fruit and not black fruit.
Yeah.
And
I,
and I think
for
that
example,
Nebbiolo is all about that. It
so
breaks.
look, I have Il Brico, and
Uh-huh.
years 2017, I put exactly at the same level as 16 and 15, which were all
Thank you.
fantastic wines. And I have to
Thank you,
say that,
sir.
and you know, it's crazy. It really has that Goudiron, the tar and asphalt character, like classic Nebbiolo. And then it has roses too. Really
Because that is
intense.
once you're able to pick a Nebbiolo in the right moment, there are no other elements which are not the classic one: the roses, the violets, the red berries, and I mean, it's all about fruit. Nebbiolo is not power. Nebbiolo is not complexity. Nebbiolo is not overpowering wine. Nebbiolo
No,
is like a strong woman with a lot of finesse.
the Barolo Classico is very sort of cool fruits to it. If you served it, no one would ever think it was from a hot and dry year in the summer. And it has lots of blackberry and cherries and violets and powerful tannins, but very polished tannins and fine and just pure.
They're clean on the mouth.
Yeah, it's really clean.
They match very well with the super clean fruit. So tannins and clean fruit are getting along together extremely well and manage each other.
Was it difficult to so with 17, did you cut back on the macerations during so because you knew they were quite charged with tannins, so you
we started with rain in the beginning of the year, so with that amount of rain, we started early to do the grain pruning and to reduce the yields. But reducing the yields is no longer a fact. It's no longer a news because everybody's doing that. If we would ever reach the maximum allowed by the appellation, which is 8,000 kilos per hectare, we will never be able to make wine of that status.
The Ornato is crazy because the tannins, you don't see them at first, and then it just grows on the finish, and it's spread across the palate. Like it's not chewy, but the whole wine is chewy, where the tannins just integrate into the wine, and then just a real purity, and has that crushed stone character that you get from that side of the region.
I'm happy to hear that because my impression was is an Ornato that starts in an easy way, and then the more it goes, the more it becomes Serralunga style wine.
Yeah,
and it doesn't terrify the mouth at the beginning, which is a good sign for me because in some vintages, a big powerful Nebbiolo from Serralunga is tannic from the first sight and for the first moment that the wine gets in the mouth.
Exactly. And then we have the Mosconi.
15 was the first, 16 was the second, and 17 is the third.
Mosconi seemed to have slightly more finesse than the Ornato. It was very typical. And that's a really, you know what, now we're talking about it, that's a really good sign that the vintage is fantastic because the terroirs are really coming through the typical style, right?
Correct.
Cesare'S, richer, bigger tannins.
When you will come visiting us again, I want to take you walking in Mosconi and walking in Ornato. And when you're on top of Mosconi, you can see the Ornato at 250 meters to the next level of hills. And the two regions are very narrow and close to each other, but they are completely different. Mosconi to us is a cool Barolo, cool in terms of temperature, not in terms of temperature, but in terms of freddo. You know what freddo means? It
Yeah.
comes out slowly and slowly. It has finesse. It has elegance. While Ornato's got more bold character.
Oh, I totally agree. And I've been to Mosconi years back with people like
Conterno
what's his,
Fantino,
yeah, and also a Clerico
Erico.
and
Yes.
what's his name? Who has the winery just below Mosconi and Elio Grasso.
Elio, no, Grasso.
Yeah, Elio Grasso. And you know, it's much higher. It's on the other side.
He's on
so
Ginestra, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
exactly.
Ginestra, which is
Ginestra.
on the other side.
So cooler and
But
finer.
he has a small piece next to us at Mosconi, which is just as good as the one that we have.
What I like is they're really both super. They really just show their real character and so different. That's what we're looking for. Is that, you know, these all have GPS on the bottle, and they're really, when you taste them, you know that those special vineyards are giving this fantastic character. So I'm very excited about all the wines, but particularly those two wines. So
thank you,
listen,
sir.
listen, I gotta run. So I have an interview with a journalist, but you know, good work on the 17s, and thanks for the insight. I didn't know about August, and that must have made the difference, because I tasted so many wines already, 300 wines, and there's just some fantastic wines in 17. So 3 great vintages, 15, 16, 17.
We look forward to reading your comments on the different wines.
Okay, Pio.
We look forward to have the permit of traveling and coming to Hong Kong and sit down in your restaurant and have a great dinner with you and Maria.
Grazie. And also me too. Ci vediamo in Alba.
All the best.
Tanti baci.
All the best from everybody here. Ciao.
Anche noi, grazie. Ciao,
Ciao,
caro.
caro. Ciao, ciao, ciao.